Donald Trump's been held in contempt by a Democrat judge. Go figure. The same guy whose daughter raised almost $100 million for Democrats and other people like Joe Biden, Adam Schiff, Kamala, and others, has decided that Donald Trump posted some illegal truths on the interwebs. And Trump, of course, was responding to the kangaroo evidence in this case, in this courtroom, where they're trying to concoct a crime to prosecute ancient charges that don't even fit nicely into any automatic statute that would initiate charges here, right? It's all being assembled with duct tape. So we're going to go through this because Judge Juan Merchan came out and issued an order saying, Trump, you got to fine $9,000, pay it, and remove those posts by 2/15. And of course, he did remove those, but we're going to take a look and remember what those posts look like so we don't forget about them. But Trump came out before the day started, before the order came down, and he said, you know, I'm here in court, but my trial is causing the highest polls that I've ever seen. And we've seen that here. CNN polls are saying, wow, man, he is continuing to escape Joe Biden in the graphs. Now, while all this is happening, while Trump is being bogged down, being condemned in this court, being fined and gagged, Cohen is on TikTok doing stupid little heart videos, castigating Trump and getting away with it. So here's what Trump said before the day started. This, of course, is in New York. Trump is there. His attorney, Todd Blanche, is to his left. Here is Trump.
Hoax is indeed, it is indeed a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax. All of them are hoax, including the civil cases. They're controlled by the White House. They're controlled by Democrat judges and prosecutors that were put there specifically. They hate Trump, and the people are getting it.
True.
That's why we just came out. A new Emerson poll just was released about 2 minutes ago, and I'm leading by a lot in every swing state and leading in the general election. And you saw the CNN poll. I'm sure they aren't too happy with it, but the CNN poll was fantastic. So we're here. This is a hoax. This is a judge who's conflicted, badly conflicted. I've never seen a judge so conflicted, and giving us virtually no rulings. Here I'm not even allowed to say advice of counsel. This is a new one to me, advice of counsel. When you have a lawyer and the lawyer does something or advises you on something, you say advice of counsel. He said you're not allowed to say that. And so you'll all figure it out, but I think the public has figured it out because the poll numbers are the highest they've ever been. And I appreciate you've treated me, actually, I thought quite fairly, at least the people here, which is a lot of people. And I appreciate that.
All right, so that's Trump, and he was there on day 9. Now, before the day's testimony got started, Judge Juan Merchan issued an order. Trump said, hey, this is all rigged. And he says, how dare you say bad things about witnesses in this case, even though they're out there saying bad things about you. So this is the order. You can see decision and order from the government prosecutor's motion for contempt. They're very upset. And they said he should be fined for 10 different violations. The judge found him in contempt for 9 of them. Here is what Juan has said. He says, all right, Donald Trump here has been charged with 34 counts of falsifying business records. Says these charges arise from allegations about Stormy and other people. We've heard, this is about Stormy, but we didn't hear, you'll notice, in the actual indictment about anything about McDougal or Pecker or any of these other people. They say, all right, on February 22nd, Bragg, the prosecutors, filed a motion for an order restricting statements by Trump. And on March 26th, this court granted that, gagged Trump. On March 28th, they also wanted another gag to gag him even harder. And on April 1st, we thought it was a joke. Not really. Of course, this whole thing is a joke. But on April 1st, he came out and gagged Trump from talking about his daughter, who has raised $93 million for Democrats. Adam Schiff, Kamala Harris, literally works for Joe Biden. Judge says, don't talk about that. Trump sought an emergency stay from the appellate division in New York, and they denied that. They're like, get out of here. On April 15th, the people, the prosecutors, government bureaucrats, moved by order to show cause for this court to find Trump in criminal contempt for willfully violating court orders, and for the expanded order on 3 separate occasions, right? Trump violated your prohibitions, saying Trump was served with the signed order to show cause that same day. And the people again moved for another order to show cause, saying Trump violated this again 7 more times. Trump was served again with that one. We conducted a hearing, right? On April 23rd, been following this along. They had the hearing. The judge said, I'll reserve my judgment, take it under advisement, came back out. Here's the order today. So Bragg and the government bureaucrats seek a $1,000 fine for each violation and to remove the 8 offending posts from Trump's Truth Social account, because if they're up there, it's going to continue to expose these people. Now, lastly, the bureaucrats, prosecutors, request that this court, quote, warn Trump that this conduct will not be tolerated and remind him that incarceration incarceration is an option should it be necessary. So the language of the order that is pertinent to the instant motions is the judge. We've read this like 5 times now, but he says, don't talk about my daughter, okay, who's Democrats. Even though this judge donated to Joe Biden as a sitting judge, donated to him, then has family members working for him, says don't talk about any of that in the middle of a political season when this guy's prosecuting his daughter's boss's, client's opponent. Nice. Making or directing, we know what the thing is. Now, here are the findings of fact. All right, so the judge went back and did his research. Says this court has considered the respective arguments of both parties and the exhibits that were introduced at the hearing. And the bureaucrat prosecutors claim that Trump has violated the expanded order 10 times. They have, Bragg's assistant there just monitoring his truth every morning. The alleged violations were introduced into evidence. Here's the 10 items. And we're going to make sure we're very familiar with all of these when we're done with this ridiculous order. We'll make sure we are familiar with what their judge is trying to hide. But this one, April 10th, 10:07, April 10th, 10:48, April 13th, you know the dates, they're there. Of course, all these on True Social. Trump posted this one on his campaign website, 2 on his website, the rest on True Social. Hopefully you're following him over there and checking regularly. Now, the 10 posts consist of posts made by Trump and a repost, right? He just re-truthed it, of material previously posted by another website, and reposts of material which do not contain commentary by Trump. So there were some things that were posted by another source and others that do not contain commentary by Trump. In fact, let's just go take a look at some of those posts right now so we can see exactly what they're talking about before we dig into it. And a couple people have assembled some montages of what these posts are. This one came over from Bad Hombre, Joma GC _GC on X. He assembled this. He says, here's a couple of them, right? April 10th, dates look like they all match. Says, thank you to Michael Avenatti for revealing the truth about 2 sleazebags who have, with their lies and misrepresentations, cost our country dearly. We can't be hypocrites, right, is what Michael Avenatti said. This is ridiculous. There's some commentary from Trump. Here's one. They are catching undercover liberal activists lying to the judge in order to get on the Trump jury. And that's Trump quoting Jesse Waters. Here's one where Trump was posting the signed statement that Stormy Daniels even admits she signed that says, I never had an affair, okay? I've said this like 50 times. 2011, 16, 17, now again 2018. Never slept with the dude, never had an affair, leave me the hell alone. Signed it January 30th, 2018. Then she recants that later and says, no. That was under duress when I signed that one. Okay, so look what was just found, says Trump. Will the fake news report it? They're saying, oh no, he's commenting on a witness. Here's some other statements. Trump posted this about Mark Pomerantz. Has Mark Pomerantz been accused for his terrible acts in and out of the DA's office? Of course, we know who that is. That's that whiny prosecutor who complained because Alvin Bragg was not going to prosecute Trump. Alvin Bragg won the election, came in, said, this is a dumb case. You guys are dumb, which was a smart thing to say. Then those prosecutors, the dumb ones, cried like little weenies, threw a hissy fit. Pomerantz issued this resignation letter, faxed it over to the New York Times, whatever, and they posted the whole thing, cried. And then they all resigned because Alvin Bragg wasn't going to prosecute it. Then we have questions. Where did Pomerantz's cell phone records go? When he left, right? What about public records, open records laws that make sure that when you're using government devices for government business, those records are logged. You don't get to just delete those, Mark. So that information has now gone missing. Where are the records at? Oh, where'd they go? Was he using a private cell phone? What's going on? So Trump is saying, anyone looked into this? It wasn't until we know after the fact that Michael Colangelo came down from the DOJ, came back over to Alvin Bragg, gave him the old backhand. What do you think you're doing? This is 2024. And Alvin's like, stop it. And then he decided that they were going to bring the case back. And they are. Here we are. Has disgraced attorney and felon Michael Cohen been prosecuted for lying? No, they went after Weisselberg, CFO. Even though Cohen, according to a federal judge, lied either in federal court or in Tish's fake prosecution in front of Engoron. Only Trump people get prosecuted by this judge and these thugs. A dark day for our country indeed. Trump also reposted this story about campaign finance crimes, Michael Cohen being a piece of work liar. Here's another one from Trump from a New York Post saying Cohen's a serial perjurer and so on. And here's another, right? Here's the actual story. So that is a smattering of what some of the stories look like. And I do believe Viva says, I verified each of these images and ensured that they correspond to the exhibit. So now I can share this montage. And so this is another one that came over from Little Cat. Shout out to Cleric Susan, who looks like, doing some great work over there. So we see that Viva also confirms, here are the 9 posts. Looks like we got most of those. And let's just confirm, see what else is in there. But yeah, so several of these, it looks like Trump was just quoting. Okay, here's a couple, 912, 958. Trump was just quoting and reposting quotes from the original article, right? So these three looks like Team Trump, different times, but essentially the same thing. So these are almost like copy and pastes. Looks like it might even be the same article, just posted at two separate times. One at 912, one at 1026. So we saw that one, the Stormy thing, the Pomerantz comment, the Jesse Waters clip. So we got all 9 of them now. And you can see, just for posterity's sake, that's what Trump has been hit with and gagged for. So those are the posts. Now we go back to the order. He says Trump does not dispute that he either posted or reposted all of the 10 posts in question. Okay, so like he did a volitional act. So the judge is saying, I'm not really going to mince words, whether it's a repost or whether he added commentary or whatever. He says he advances several defenses to support his claims that these are not willful violations and that he should not be found in criminal contempt, saying, well, the people also introduced exhibits 11 through 15, which were not offered as violations of the expanded gag order. And the Jesse Waters clip says, well, the quote misstates what Jesse Waters actually said. So this post, right, the Jesse Waters post was Trump's words himself because Jesse didn't say that verbatim. So he says Trump's defense argues that reposting another's post doesn't violate this because they're not my words, they're someone else's words. I didn't say it. They said it. I just reposted it. That he believed reposting was permissible because the people in the court did not move to expand this and come after the repost until later. And that he did not willfully violate the expanded order because the posts are protected political speech made in response to attacks by Cohen and Stormy, right? Cohen is doing his TikTok, quack, quack routine, whatever over there. And Stormy Daniels is releasing documentaries on Peacock. So here's a conclusion. They say, all right, Judge Merchan writing says, look, the judiciary law authorizes the court to find contempt if their disobedience as willful and they're violating a court mandate. Why? We have to protect the dignity, which is laughable, of the judicial system and compel respect for its mandates. There's no dignity in this court. Now, criminal contempt requires a showing of willfulness on the part of contemptor, which must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And thus, for the court to make a finding of criminal contempt, the moving party must establish the following: the existence of a lawful order, of an unequivocal mandate, a violation of the order made with knowledge and willful intention. And a party may not challenge a court's order by violating it. So a party may be held in contempt for violating an order found to be unlawful. And an adjudication of the contempt occurs at a plenary hearing with due process of law, including notice, written charges, assistance of counsel, compulsory process, and all these things. This hearing was already conducted on April 23rd. So you basically had your trial. You have everything that you need. We gave you due process. You have notice of the charges. So I'm basically allowed to find you guilty of this if I can check off these 3 boxes. 1, lawful order. You knowingly and willfully did it, and there was an actual violation. So they say this court, Judge Juan Merchan, who donated to Joe Biden, whose daughter works for Joe Biden, says this court rejects Trump's arguments. Shocking, I know. And finds that the people have established the elements of criminal contempt beyond a reasonable doubt as to exhibits 2 through 10. They say, by the way, at the hearing, the court gave Trump's defense counsel numerous opportunities to cite actual instances where Trump's posts were made in response to attacks by the witnesses. Now, aside from referencing tweet in their papers, counsel was unable to direct the courts to any other attacks by the, quote, protected witnesses, Stormy and Cohen, which immediately preceded Trump's post. So they offered no exhibits at the hearing. So they're saying, well, Trump was responding to something. And he said, well, what? And they said, well, we don't really have anything specific, but he's responding to them. So this court's expanded order is lawful and it's unambiguous. He says, I've investigated my prior order. It's amazing. Absolutely lawful, very clear. Trump violated the order by making the post pertaining to these witnesses' participation in this kangaroo court by making public statements about jurors in the proceedings. Now, addressing first what has been referred to as reposts, they say these exhibits 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, this court finds that a repost, whether with or without commentary by Trump, is in fact a statement. So even if he doesn't add anything to it, he still says it. Well, he didn't say it though. He just re-truthed it. That's his statement. Now, the issue of reposting appears to be a question of first impression. No one's decided this before. Is that actual speech? And can you attribute that to the person retruthing it? I don't know. We've never had that come up here. So lacking legal authority to guide its decision, I'll do whatever I want. He says this court must, as defense counsel stated, rely on common sense. So did he go ask a different judge or somebody who has a brain? I don't know. Before both the Truth Social account and the official campaign website exclusively represent the opinions and views of Trump, and neither is an open forum for others to post their own content. And so Trump curated the post at issue and then took the necessary steps to publish the post on his social account and his campaign website. And in doing so, he endorsed the post with one purpose in mind: to maximize viewership and to communicate his stamp of approval. Well, that's kind of the point of free speech, is to call out the corruption that is happening around you. That's why we have the First Amendment. If the tyrannical state is oppressing you, you don't have your own tyrannical state to fight back with. Hello, the only thing you have is your free speech. That's why why it's the First Amendment. So when you gag that, you have a tyrannical state that's now able to tyrannize you without you being able to speak out about it. It is the maximum tyranny that you can have. And this judge is now engaging in it. So Trump, that's exactly right? We want everybody to hear about what's happening here. We want everybody to realize Stormy Daniels signed a document saying she did not have an affair with this person, Donald Trump, multiple times. We'd love to know that. We'd love to know that Michael Cohen, who's going to be this case's star witness, is a serial perjurer, according to a federal judge, not Trump. Federal judge says he lied in New York like months ago in front of Engoron's face, and he said he was credible and he didn't care. So all of this is incredibly important, especially in the middle of an election year, especially when somebody is a political candidate who is being victimized by the state. The goal, of course, is to maximize viewership. Now, he says, indeed, Trump has posted about the reach of his platform when describing its value. Yeah, that's right. More importantly, he has free speech. Thank God. Otherwise, could you imagine if they're doing this to someone else, like, a J6er who doesn't have the same megaphone? More importantly, True Social is the primary way Trump said I get the word out, which is the way I get people to hear what I have to say. According to experts, more than anyone in the world. I got 7 million followers over there, baby, is what he says. And when I put it out, it spreads all over the place. Everybody seems to get what I have to say quickly, says Trump. So he's like, yeah, it is effective. A lot of people do use it. So he says, therefore, there can be no doubt that whatsoever that Trump's intent and purpose when reposting this is to communicate to his audience that he endorses and adopts the posted statement as his own. So it's an endorsement. He says, well, it's counterintuitive and indeed absurd, says this judge, to read the expanded order to not prescribe statements that he selected and published to maximize exposure. Now, this is not to say that a repost will always be deemed a statement of the reposter, as the context is directly relevant, however, here under unique facts and circumstances of this case, because it's Trump and they can do whatever they want because it's Trump. The only credible finding is that the reposts are statements of Trump, and so therefore they're in violation of my order. Now, turning next to Trump's post where he says he's quoting Jesse Waters, this is not a repost, but rather this is Trump's own words. Mr. Waters uttered a statement which Trump altered, placed in quotes, and attributed to him. Now, the purpose being to call into question the legitimacy of the jury selection process in this case. This constitutes a clear expansion of the violated order and clear violation of the expanded order and requires no further analysis. Now, Trump next argues, they say, Juan Mercan, that the statements contained in all of the exhibits were all made in response to political attacks. Well, while the expanded order does permit Trump to respond to political attacks, just saying everything is a political attack does not make them so. And although Trump did not produce any exhibits at the hearing, he did refer to 2 postings contained in his opposition papers. They included a post by Cohen on April 9th, where he comments on those who support Trump for the presidency, and a second post by Cohen on April 10th, referencing Avenatti's likelihood of getting a pardon from Trump. Now, while it remains unclear whether Exhibit 1 is in fact a response to these 2 posts, the tenuous correlation is sufficient to give this court pause as to whether they've met their burden to this exhibit. So they're saying, okay, Exhibit 1 may have been a response to those, so maybe. However, that cannot be said as the other remaining exhibits, which attack the credibility of arguably 2 of the more high-profile witnesses in this case. Yeah, who are running their mouths. Stormy did a whole documentary, released it on Peacock, timed to coincide with this trial starting. So to allow such attacks upon protected witnesses with blanket assertions that they are all responses to political attacks would be an exception that swallowed the rule. The expanded order does not contain that exception. It's weird how everything Trump says can be a blanket attack on the administration of justice. Okay, Trump posts something, automatically it's an attack. But when they do it, it's not. So Trump doesn't get the same response power that they get. Now, at the same time, the court is keenly aware of and protective of, oh gosh, get ready to gag your own guts out. They say this court is keenly aware of and protective of Trump's First Amendment rights. Yeah, right. Particularly given his candidacy for the office of the President of the United States. This judge is hysterical. I mean, he can't be this dense, right? Like, he's trolling, right? Like, that's a troll, clearly. He doesn't actually believe that. He's just trolling all of us, right? Does he actually believe this? Like, does he go back there and he's like, well, I had a difficult day, honey. How was your day? Difficult day. I had to balance the First Amendment rights of the president. Yeah, right. He says it's critically important that Trump's legitimate free speech rights not be curtailed, that he be able to fully campaign for the office. Oh, he's trolling for sure. He's trolling for the office which he seeks, and that he be able to respond to and defend himself against political attacks. 100% in your face. This dude is waving it around in our faces. For that reason, this court exercised discretion when it crafted the expanded gag order, delaying it until the eve of trial. Hilarious. This dude has locked him down for 6 weeks. He can't campaign. He can't even get out of there on Fridays. Give me a break. There is no campaigning. And every time he goes out and speaks to the media, they say he violated a gag order again. So he cannot respond to the political political attacks at all. This is a joke. This dude is trolling big time. Says the order is narrowly tailored to prevent the risk, there it is, fair administration of justice, which is the same stupid platitude as, saving American democracy. We have to protect democracy. Fair administration of justice is meaningless. And it clearly and unambiguously identifies the limited ways in which Trump's speech is restricted, saying it's of the utmost importance to this court that the expanded order not be used as a sword instead of a shield by potential witnesses, right? So Trump can't read this order and then say, aha, I can do this thing, and then go start wagging that around. Consideration of that usage will be weighed by this court when ruling for the willfulness of any future claims, as well as determining when an appropriate punishment, if any. In fact, the court may very well consider the propriety of continuing the limitation on extrajudicial speech as it relates to certain individuals. And as this court observed in the expanded gag order, it's our fundamental responsibility to protect the integrity of the criminal process. Now, the underlying purpose of the restriction on extrajudicial statements is to protect, here it is, the integrity of these proceedings, shielding those fearful of reprisal by Trump so that they don't take part in these proceedings. Now, if a protected order party turns this order on the head, it becomes apparent that the protected party likely does not need to be protected by the expanded order. So the court's cognizant that Trump has made through various motions he's filed numerous references to Michael Cohen, Stormy, and others. Nonetheless, the court finds it is not yet necessary to modify the terms of the expanded gag orders here. And so the court finds Trump in criminal contempt for willfully disobeying a lawful mandate of this court in violation of New York law on 9 separate occasions, saying criminal contempt is punishable by a fine not exceeding $1,000, by jail not exceeding 30 days, or by both in the discretion of this court. Now, the judiciary allows this punishment to protect the dignity of the judicial system and to compel respect and to punish the person in contempt for disobeying a court order. However, the judiciary law does not vest the court with authority to craft an appropriate punishment when a $1,000 fine will not achieve the intended purpose. So I'm sort of limited. While $1,000 may suffice in most instances to protect the dignity of the judicial system and to compel respect for its mandates and to punish the offender, it unfortunately will not achieve the desired results in those instances where the contemnor can easily afford such a fine, like Trump's, like tip money, man. All right, here you go, Mercon. Now, in those circumstances, it would be preferable if the court could impose a fine more commensurate with the wealth of Trump. And in some cases, that might be $200, $2,500, but in other cases, it might be a fine of $150,000. But because this court is not cloaked with such discretion, it must therefore consider whether in some instances, jail may be a necessary punishment. And therefore, Trump is hereby warned that this corrupt court will not tolerate continued willful violations of its lawful orders, and that if necessary and appropriate under the circumstances, it will impose incarceratory punishment. And it's hereby ordered that Trump pay a $1,000 fine for the 9 violations by close of business on Friday. Also further ordered that those 7 offending posts from the True Social accounts and the 2 posts from the website be removed by Tuesday at 2:15 p.m. And of course, that was done. So here's what Michael Cohen is saying and doing all over the place. This story comes over from ABC. Says Cohen is cashing in on the Trump trial. He's doing these TikTok live streams like that milkshake girl, and it could be a problem. And they tell us that after Trump spent the day in a courtroom in downtown Manhattan last Tuesday, one of the star witnesses in the hush money case went live on social media. Cohen said, Trump 2024, more like Trump 20 to 24 years. Dun, dun, dun. Funny, Michael. As he awaits his turn to take the witness stand, Cohen has discussed Trump, the ongoing trial, and the testimony already underway during nightly live streams on TikTok. Now, he's getting money because all his lib viewers there are just chucking dollars at him. And while the undertaking doesn't appear to run afoul of any court order, experts say it hurts the already blemished credibility of an essential witness in the case. ABC News contributor said, I'd be furious. As a prosecutor, the last thing you want your witness to do is talk about the case in a forum other than the courtroom. Another defense attorney who worked for the DA's office says, yeah, I have no doubt that Trump's team is scrutinizing and listening and watching whatever they can. They're going to weaponize it in court of law, tear down his credibility. If I'm in the prosecution, I'm in the phone right now saying, stop what you're doing right now. I can't make you, but stop for your own sake. It's going to get worse for you in that courtroom, and you are compromising the case. Look at this guy. Yeah, I don't know what that is. That's a heart on a cloud. And so he's getting, the roses, he's getting the electrical things, he's getting hearts, and he's putting the face masks on. And eventually he said he's going to stop doing this. And he said, I'm washing my hands of him until I'm him face to face. So somebody did call him. He said, see you in a month or more. He posted on X that he's off. Okay. He says, I'm not being on X anymore. But it was a move that prosecutors were pleased with. But then just a few hours later, Cohen went on TikTok. He said, I'm getting off X. He went on TikTok. He went live with thousands of viewers, was briefly talking about Trump and the trial with Rosie O'Donnell. And he said, we as a nation will stand up to Trump and the indictments will follow through and he's going to be held accountable. Now, the DA's office from Manhattan hasn't paid much or hasn't responded. The live stream on this Thursday last week was a lot less focused on Trump, but the dude's obviously got a problem, right? The dude has a problem. He can't stop. He needs this attention. He needs to be the center of it and he can't stop. So they're going to beat him up over the head with that. And maybe he'll go on TikTok and talk about how his testimony goes when it is his time to take the stand. Now, we're going to be here continuing to cover all this, my friends. Thank you for subscribing and liking this video. Thank you for joining us over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, our members only community where we do live streams in the morning, 6 days a week, including on Saturdays. We'd love to have you come join us. We talk about a lot of other stuff that we can't get into here, and we go deeper on these topics as well. So come and join us, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We'll see you over there and back here on the next one.